Hi everybody, thanks for checking out my video blog. I'm really excited because this is actually my very first video update and it comes at a very special time. Today I'm going to talk about my adventure going to Washington, D.C. for the inauguration of Barack Obama. So the trip was on Tuesday and we actually had to leave on Monday night in order to get there in time. So the bus left at 10 o'clock at night on Monday, filled up with 55 students and headed down to Washington, D.C. So we finally ended up parking at RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C., which is where they actually put all of the buses that were coming into the city. So everybody that came in on a bus was then taken to a central location in the stadium parking lot. And from there, the city had buses where they shuttled them from the stadium all the way down to the mall, which isn't actually that far of a trip, but when you have so many people, it takes a while. So what we actually did is got on the freeway, which was of course only open to these shuttle buses, and they dropped us off in the middle of a freeway right next to an exit. And then we had to actually walk down the freeway, take a freeway exit on foot, which is very strange. And then they had big signs directing the traffic, the foot traffic, where to go. So you had all these people coming off of these buses, and it was just absolutely filling the streets. I mean, every street was full everywhere you looked. Every overpass, every underpass, every sidewalk, everything was completely full of people just walking toward the National Mall. There were people everywhere, every direction, no matter where you looked. There were just people, people, people. At one point, the line actually stopped, and I thought that's where we were going to end up staying. We were about a block away from the National Mall, and it just wasn't moving. We were just absolutely stuck, and I was pretty content just camping right there and enjoying it. But the line actually got moving a little bit, and we got to an area where we could actually get into the mall, which was really cool. The group of people from Johnson Wales were actually the last people that were admitted into this area of the mall. Everybody behind us actually had to go all the way down to the Washington Monument. We made it to the very end of the lawn, which was amazing. When we got there, there were just people everywhere. We were so far away. I took a picture of where we were toward the Capitol, and it was just so far away, so far. I could see the jumbotrons ahead of us, and it looked like it just didn't stop. There were just so many people there. The cool thing about it, though, is because of the jumbotrons, we could see everything that was happening on the steps of the Capitol. It was right in front of us, so we could absolutely see everything, and they had speakers up so that we could hear everything, and it really felt like we were right there, so it was cool. We actually got to the mall about 10 o'clock in the morning, so we still had about 2 hours just to sit around, and it was freezing. It was so cold. So we just like bundled up together and stood there and waved our little flags and enjoyed just being there, because I knew that that is one thing that we would be able to tell this story for such a long time. So that was awesome. About 11:30, it started picking up a little bit. We watched the entire show, and people were so moved by the events. People were crying, people were hysterically screaming and cheering and clapping, and it was just really cool to be there. Obviously, as soon as Obama finished his speech, everybody packed out of there. We walked around trying to get food, and I mean, we had snacks, but we wanted to actually, waste some time, and it took forever. So after we finally waited in line for an hour to get McDonald's, we started heading back to the stadium to get back on the bus. And it was exactly the opposite of what we did before. We waited in another big line of people to get on the bus, which just shuttled us back. It took about an hour to go maybe a couple of miles, not very far at all, but it took about an hour. We finally got back to the bus. People were really tired. The bus left at 6 o'clock at night and headed all the way back to Rhode Island. So people by that time, by 6 o'clock at night, when you're that exhausted, you know you've had a long day. But we finally did make it back to Rhode Island about 3 o'clock in the morning, so we were all definitely really tired. So the moral of the story is it was a really cool adventure just to go there for it, even though it did take a lot of hours to get there for not really a lot of time of being there. I think that we were there in DC walking around for about 12 hours, and it took about 15 hours to get there. and back. So 15 hours on a bus for 12 hours of being there. But it was absolutely worth it to have 55 people, 55 friends, all classmates of mine, going to this historic event. It was just so cool, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed watching the inauguration as much as I did, and I hope you enjoyed watching my very first video update as much as I enjoyed giving it to you. Take care.